Hey everyone, it is February. It is the 20th of February. It is a Thursday, and this is the morning grind. As you can tell, I'm not Stevie TPFL. He had some other prior commitment. I don't know, maybe NASCAR related, maybe coming back from Daytona because it started a day late. Who knows? But in any case, I'm Grant Neiffer, and I'll be your host today. I am joined by one of my favorites, Will Priester, Chief Justice '06. How you doing over there, buddy?
Doing great, man. We were talking before the pod. I must say, man, this has been an extremely pleasurable break for me. Probably one of the best I've had in probably 3 or 4 years, man. This has been a crazy good break. I really feel refreshed. I feel like my mind is clear. I didn't play any NHL, didn't play any hockey, golf. I literally took a whole week. The only thing I did play was XFL on Saturday. And I didn't even play XFL on Sunday, only on Saturday. So I'm feeling fantastic, man. I am definitely ready to get back in the thick of things and ride this thing out through the playoffs, man. I am pumped and ready to go.
Yeah, no, I took the entire week off, although I was getting a little stir crazy just by about yesterday. I'm like, all right, I need to go back to work. Like, I can't not work for this long. I'm driving myself up a tree, but we're back. We got a full 6-game slate. We already got all the injuries because it was the All-Star break, and it looks pretty good. You ready to get started?
Oh, yeah, you know it.
All right, let's get started with the first game here. It is Detroit versus Milwaukee here. Injuries over on the Detroit side. Griffin is out still. Kennard is out still. Bruce Brown available to play on the Bucks. Kyle Korver is out. The line is currently set at 13-224 over. Let's start off with the Milwaukee Bucks here. Game's not projected to be close, as it is with most Milwaukee games, but it's not a good spot, or not a bad spot, not a bad total. Who are you looking at with all these Milwaukee players healthy?
Yeah, man. I think the only guy for me that I'm going to look at on Milwaukee is probably going to be Giannis. You got to think he's going to come in at fairly low ownership today compared to the field when you've got, other guys like Harden, like Westbrook, that are going to be, what we consider on paper to be much better matchups. So I think Giannis gets a little lost in the shuffle today. I think he's going to be an extremely good tournament play. Coming off of the break, we haven't seen Giannis play in a real game, since the birth of his kid. Hey, I'm pulling in a little narrative street there. He may want to go out and dominate a little bit from Mr. Liam Antetokounmpo. So, Giannis is kind of at the top of my list today for tournaments. And some of my single entry stuff, I'm not completely saying that I'm going like all in. I'm not single entry. Some of my multi-entry stuff, I don't think I'd go all in on them today. But, I would really be over the field on Giannis. If this game happens to stay close, you got to think he could be a slate breaker. He could easily put up 70 fantasy points in this game. He's my favorite. I don't feel like I need anybody else from Milwaukee.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of right there with you. Middleton, Bledsoe, Lopez, they're all priced up enough where I don't really find a need for them. Everyone else who generally you look at when Giannis isn't playing, not guys that I'm going to end up going with. Giannis getting an actual decent break. We know that he's been nagged a little bit by injuries all throughout the season, back injuries, all this. So now he's got a full break here, and he is probably going to dominate if this game ends up staying close. I really like that Giannis call. What about over on the Detroit side? Obviously, we now have news that Reggie Jackson getting waived or getting a contract buyout, probably going to sign with the Clippers, and so I would assume that he's not going to play this game. He's not on the injury report, but did they already waive him? I believe they are.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, so
yeah.
Jackson out, obviously taking out a ton of usage prior to getting bought out. Rose is probably coming back. He's sitting there at 5.9K. We got Christian Wood, who's crushing beforehand. Gets a little bit of a price decrease because he got in some foul trouble prior to the end of the break, although he did put up a good game versus Orlando. Seems like it was a little bit too cheap, and then we just got a whole bunch of other guys that could end up going off. What are your top options here for Detroit?
Yeah, man, I think, on DK, it feels like it should be Derrick Rose or Bruce Brown, just because I feel like those guys are probably the safer plays. Sivy, you got to think Sivy could pick up a few extra minutes, but I don't feel as comfortable about him on DK. Excuse me. Wood is for sure in play. A guy that I want to highlight from Detroit here is actually Thon Maker. He's been playing really good basketball since a lot of these guys have left, flee the coop and gone to other teams. I think Thon Maker is going to be a really good value play here on this slate. He's power forward and center eligible on DK, so you could play him in the power forward spot, the center spot, the forward spot. Wouldn't play him in your utility because he's one of the first games in, but he's a guy I've kind of got my eye on. I do want to say I think there's a huge pricing discrepancy on the two sites today for this team in particular, because on FanDuel, man, you got Bruce Brown there at 3,800. I think coming right out of the gate, he's going to be the de facto value. And then also on FanDuel, Derrick Rose is 5,500. So just right out of the gate, I think those two guys on FanDuel really, really stand out. And so I think those are guys you could look at. Last but not least, I do think that Langston Galloway is probably going to start getting some run or a little bit extra run, especially with Reggie Jackson gone. So he's another value play. He's a value on both sides, 3,700 on DK. I think he's 3,600 on FanDuel. That collection of guys, I just think that's, if you want to kind of play some value, I think these are going to be some guys that provide that on this slate.
Yeah, there's a few guys in the 3K range that are pretty decent on the slate here. But, yeah, with Jackson going on, obviously the pricing came out before he was going to be bought out. And so the pricing on this is a little bit off. But I like that Bruce Brown call. People forget that he was putting up big games and playing huge minutes not too long ago. And then Jackson came in and kind of changed things around. But Rose, Bruce Brown, like both of them. Christian Wood, I still think that he is a little bit too underpriced at 6,900. He did have one bad game, but he got into foul trouble. But the guy is going to eat up a lot of the usage there. Probably ends up staying out of foul trouble. Like the Thon Maker call, like the Civic call, like the Galloway call. Pretty much on board with every single thing you said. It's just what happens when some guy – it's the same thing with injuries. But, yeah, with Jackson getting bought out, it's going to open up a whole lot of usage on this team and a whole lot of potential value on this spot here. But let's move on to the next game here. We got Miami versus the Hawks here. 6-point spread, 230 total here. For the Hawks, Capella is still out. Scala Bassi is still out. For the Heat, Tyler Hero is out. Myers Leonard is out. Let's get started with the Heat here. We get one of the best matchups on the board. Projected to be fairly close because it's over in Atlanta. 6-point spread is not huge. Butler's sitting at a decent price tag. Bam sitting at a decent price tag. We got the new guys in here with Iguodala and with Jay Crowder. Iguodala getting a few days off here. Who are you going with here? To me, those price tags for Butler and Bam seem a little bit too low considering the incredible pace upgrade and the defensive matchup for him.
Yeah, man. Right out of the gate on DK, and see, this is another one where it's going to change between the two sites. But Bam and Butler, in my opinion, are two of the top plays on the slate on DK at 7,800 for Bam, 7,900 respectively for Jimmy Butler. I just think you really have to consider, the damage that these two gentlemen could do against an Atlanta team that's really playing at, I would say top 5 in pace in the league, if I'm not mistaken. So I like those two guys. I actually like Duncan Robinson here as well. Without Tyler Hero, I feel like Duncan Robinson has really stable minutes. And so even at 4,900, I'm willing to take a stab on him in this matchup. I know Jay Crowder's come along and he's been playing well, and I know Iguodala get a few minutes, but Butler, Robinson, and Bam, those are guys that I really like. Kendrick Nunn is still priced, affordably. He hasn't done anything special, but when you're in this type of matchup, I don't mind taking shots on guys like that. And I also don't mind taking a shot on Dragic. Playing about 30 minutes, this could be a primetime spot for him. And that's just really based on the DK pricing. If you go over to the FanDuel pricing, Dragic is still fairly priced. You've got Duncan Robinson a lot cheaper at 4,200. Butler and Bam are a little bit more expensive. But then you got Crowder at 4,500, which is just atrocious for what he's been doing since he's gotten there. This Miami team, I think you can play 3 or 4 guys here. I'm not saying you have to play them all together, but I think you've got a handful of guys that you can play. Crowder, Bam, Butler, Robinson would be my top group, and then Dragic right after that.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I feel like the pricing on Miami is a little bit soft here, especially up at the top with Butler and Bam. Like it's literally one of the best matchups on the entire board for them, and they are priced at a spot that like just doesn't fully make sense to me. They're priced basically how they were against Utah, against the Clippers, against Philly. They're cheaper than they were in all those spots. So clear
Ridiculous.
pricing discrepancy. I don't understand it all. I really like the Duncan Robinson call with Hero in there. In a fast-paced matchup, he could end up with a lot more shot attempts here going up against Atlanta. So really like that, like everything you said. Full on agreement here, Will. You crushing it right now. Let's move on to the Atlanta side. Like it's not a great matchup, but Trae Young still Trae Young. Like he can still put up a massive game at any time. Collins gets one of the best matchups out of anyone on the floor, and he's priced about where he should be. I'm not seeing a lot to love here over on the Atlanta side. Am I missing something?
Yeah, man, I don't like these prices. I mean, Herder's 5,800, way too expensive. Trey's 10.5. He should be 10.5. I think today, if you want to leverage some ownership, you just trade. You take Trey against Miami and see what happens. Is this going to be the best matchup on the night in terms of point guard play? Absolutely not. But if Trey puts up 60, he could get there easily. With the amount of volume he takes in 3-point attempts. So he's a guy I would play to leverage off some of the other. I kind of group him in with like a Giannis today. These are Giannis and Trey are like the two expensive guys that no one's going to want to play today because I think everybody wants to play the guys in the back end of this Golden State game, at least in my opinion. And once again, man, this is another spot. I hate to keep doing this where I think we just need to leverage the pricing. John Collins is 7,800 on FanDuel. I mean, he's a lot cheaper. Kevin Huerter is 4,600. Trey is 10K, still a little bit cheaper. And Bam and Jimmy are more. But I just think of this spot, man, these Atlanta guys, I think you leverage, if you like the game, I think you leverage their ownership on FanDuel. Huerter, Collins, Trey, I think those are your guys. And then let's not forget about Dwayne Dedmon as well. He's actually been playing really well. I know he only played 17 minutes against Cleveland, but overall, especially since we know Capella's going to be out, Dedmon is a guy I don't mind taking a flyer on.
Yeah, no, 25 points in his last game, 31 the game before. They're probably going to need his size a bit going up against Bam. I like that call. And, yeah, Trey is one of those guys where it really does not matter the matchup. We saw him put up 70 against Philly in back-to-back matchups against them. Like the last two times against Philly, he put up 70. Yes, he'll randomly put up a good game versus a bad team, but it really matchups don't entirely matter for him because he's just going to go out there and he's going to chuck the entire time. He can put up a massive game at any given time. If he's coming in at lower ownership, absolutely love the Trae Young call there for tournaments. Let's move on to the next game here. We got Charlotte going up against the Bulls. Injuries, not really a whole lot on the Charlotte side, but still a boatload of them over on the Bulls side. Wendell Carter Jr. out, Dunn out, Hutchinson out, Markkanen out, Porter out. We got a lot of injuries there. This game is only at a 5-point spread still, 210 total, not a high total, but a lot of injuries. Let's start off with the Charlotte side. To me, it's pretty clear. This is too good of a slate. The only guy you really want to go with too much is going to be Graham to me, sitting there at 7,500, crushing that price tag. Each of those last 3 games prior to the All-Star break, 45, 46, 50. He's a guy, regardless of the crush, without down in there, a little bit better of a defensive match. But I know that they're 5th against the point guard on the season for giving up fantasy points, but they're not the same team they have been all season long. It's entirely different now with all the injuries. He's the guy that I'm really looking at. Is there anyone else that I'm missing? I can't really see too much interest in anyone outside of maybe Zeller or PJ Washington just because of their price tags.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to mention, man. Malik Monk is a guy I was starting to kind of hop on. I kind of recommended him during last week's pod. I do think Terry Rozier is a little bit too cheap at 5,700. I think we've got some meat on the bone in this spot. But Malik Monk is a guy I wanted to highlight, but with Cody Martin coming back, I don't think I can play any Malik Monk. I think you hit the nail on the head, man. PJ Washington, 4,500, a little bit too cheap. And I'm actually going to be staying away from Zeller, Biyombo, Hernan, Gomez. This whole center conglomerate, I'm just going to be avoiding it. So Bridges is a guy that I've been playing as well because his minutes have been up, but I don't want to play him at 6K. So, it's almost going to be a pass on me for everyone outside of maybe PJ Washington.
Yeah, no, I like the call a little bit on Rozier there. Like, he is a guy that can randomly put up a big game. He's always playing a ton of minutes here. Chicago, again, it's not quite the same matchup as it has been in the past because of all the injuries over there. But yeah, like I said, Graham in tournaments, just because he's been doing really well recently, and it's not as bad of a matchup as people realize because of all the injuries. But yeah, PJ Washington too cheap. Stay away from the centers probably. Right there with you. Let's go to the Chicago side. Obviously, still a ton of guys out. There's minutes to go around. Like, Levine's priced up, but everyone else is fairly cheap. Which one of these guys that are going to get minutes are you looking at most?
Man, look, so Kobe White is going to have to play more minutes, right? Don't we think Kobe White is going to get 30 minutes today? I mean, I would peg him. I would have his floor at about 28 minutes and probably his ceiling at about 35. Do you think that's fair for him with all those guys out?
I mean, the floor is correct. The ceiling might actually be higher. In all reality.
See, I'm the only reason why I'm saying that is, are they going to let Shaq Harrison play 25 minutes today?
I don't think so.
That's what I don't think so either. But he's like the wild card to me in this whole scenario because when I'm looking at the bodies they have available right now, we're projecting Shaq to start as of this moment because Hutchinson is out. If Chandler Hutchinson was back in, I wouldn't be as concerned. But they don't really have another small forward right now. I think Shaq's going to play 25 minutes tomorrow, maybe 30. And if that's the case, he's the guy. I mean, at 3K, you just have to play him. Well, I don't want to say have to, but I think he gets 25, 30 minutes in this spot because too many people are out. And for that reason, I just think we have to play him. I know they've got Archie Diacono as well, but I don't think he's going to play over Shaq. So, but either way, I like Shaq and Kobe White here. Those two guys, I like them a lot. I don't want to exclude Levine, but I think he's just expensive enough for me to just not worry about it. I mean, look, he can crush his price tag. He could legitimately come out here and get 60, but I'd rather stake my flag on the 60 from a trade from a Giannis, and then I'd rather just take the value pieces from this game like Kobe White, like Shaq Harrison. And believe it or not, I don't mind Tomas Satoransky. This is a really good spot for him, and nobody's playing Tomas Satoransky, but I talk about this first look a lot. He's really popping for me today. So Satoransky is the guy I've got my eye on big time.
I like it. I like all your calls there. Pretty much in agreement. And yeah, like Levine could go off for a massive game. He's been going off for big games recently. I like him a little bit more than you do. Like, you're getting a decent price discount from Westbrook, from Harden, from Trey, from Giannis, but like 9,200. He's got not as much upside as them, but if they have slightly off games, if those games turn into blowouts a little bit, then he can go off. So pretty much on the same page with you. Outside of, I probably like Levine a little bit more if he's going to come in at low ownership. I could be wrong there, but like, it's a good spot. He's going to have all the usage with all these guys out. Can put up a massive game. Life today is kind of a lot. It forces us to always be on, but every now and then it's important to just stop, crack open an ice-cold Coors Light, and chill. So when you choose to turn off, choose the one beer that's made to chill. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment made to chill. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. Coors Light is brewed with a 3-step cold process. Cold lager, cold filtered, and cold packaged, so it actually made to chill. The mountains on the Coors Light cold activated bottles and cans turn blue when chilled to perfection. Born in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado in 1978, Coors Light is refreshing, crisp, and only 102 calories. I personally love Coors Light. If I'm going for a light beer pretty much every single time, that's what I'm going for. I live just a few miles away from Coors Field. Every summer, baseball games, just drinking a nice few Coors Lights and have an absolutely fantastic time. It's what I always go for when I need a nice, refreshing beer. That's why Coors Light is the one I choose when I need a moment of chill. So when you want to reset, reach for the beer that's made to chill. Always drink celebrate responsibly. Coors Light Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. All right, let's get on to the next game here. Brooklyn going up against Philly. We have an 8-point spread here, 217 total. As for injuries, I am looking it up right now. It was not in front of me. Now it is. We have basically the same guys that are always out. That's pretty much it. Not a whole lot of injury news here. Kyrie going to be out for a while. Durant still out. 76er side, not really anyone. Let's get started here with the Brooklyn side. With Kyrie out, we know exactly what this is. It's a tough matchup versus Philly, not a really high total. Dinwiddie, LeVert, is Allen going to go off? Is Jordan going to go off? Who are you looking at here? We have a beautiful 6-game slate, and we already have a lot of teams that we're absolutely in love with. Do you think that this could be a potential GPP spot where looking at these guys could go a little bit off the board?
Well, I mean, I think it's GPP if maybe you're going to take a shot on like a LeVert or Dinwiddie. But outside of that, I just don't see too many guys that I feel like are going to be slate breakers. So for that reason and that reason alone, I mean, DeAndre Jordan or Jared Allen, I think are your wild cards for this lineup here. It's just Jared Allen has been kind of hovering around 20 minutes. That doesn't mean he can't get over 30 fantasy points, but I'd much rather take a guy. If I'm going to kind of play the minutes value game, I'd just rather go back to Shaq Harrison or Kobe White. So I like Allen, don't love him. Like Jordan, don't love him. But the main two players here, Dinwiddie, LeVert, and you got to think they possibly come in at lower ownership today just because of how the slate is breaking out. So those are two guys I'll have my eye on as well, because as of right now, most of the scoring opportunities should run through these guys for shot totals, real points, assists. It should mostly come through those two.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of right there with you. I mean, DeAndre Jordan, Allen, we're not really getting the minutes. A lot of these other guys, it's not a good defensive match for anyone. It's a low total, but Dinwiddie and LeVert, they're going to be taking shots the entire time. And neither one of them have really shot that great recently. LeVert more than Dinwiddie, but Dinwiddie, last 4 games, sitting right around 40% from the field, has not gotten it going. He's still put up some high 40s games in there. He's put up some duds, but he's had some decent games recently. Priced at 7,300, he's got a pretty big price decrease here. So Dinwiddie, 7,300, offers a little bit of value, and LeVert is just giving you the upside. 6,700, he's had multiple 40-point games, a 50-point game. If he's going to be taking shots, which he has been, 20 in 3 of the last 5. He had a few bad shooting outings, but if he gets hot from the floor, he's going to be the one eating up all the usage. He can go for 50 points in this spot here. He's sitting there at 67. It's mostly just for GPPs because I don't think he's going to draw a ton of ownership even at this price tag, but he's just a guy that regardless of the matchup, he can end up putting up big games. I mean, he had 2 spots versus Toronto. He went up against Indy and had a decent game, or that was his one bad game. 2 spots against Toronto where he had a great game. He can put up a big game just based on volume if he gets hot from the floor. So you're not going to find as much upside with LeVert or with other guys as you are with LeVert sitting there at 6,700. What about over on the Philly side? Obviously, Ben Simmons gets a good matchup here, and Embiid gets a good matchup here. It's going to be a high-paced game. The total may not be that high, but the implied total for Philly is still pretty decent considering what they've normally had on the season. Simmons sitting there at 9,500 and Embiid sitting there at 9K, or we got Harris, Richardson, Horford, all sitting there a little bit too cheap. What Sixers are you looking at?
Yeah, man. Here's what I like today. I don't mind a little Embiid-Horford combo. If Horford is going to continue to come off the bench, this is going to be fantastic for us because Horford's I just feel like Horford is going to be able to thrive in the second unit. So, and he still, he only played about 2 less minutes against the Clippers, put up 25 fantasy points. Nothing to write home about, but I still think if he's coming off the bench and he's going to have, a little less Embiid, taking away rebounds, taking away scoring. He's a guy I'm going to start really trying to keep my pulse on to see if we can peg him in the best matchup. And what better of a matchup to get than the Brooklyn Nets. So Horford is the guy I really like today. Obviously, I like Ben Simmons as well. I don't love him, but I do like him because I know he's got the upside. Josh Richardson is a guy I kind of want to talk about here. His minutes had a drastic increase there against the Clippers, got up to 32 minutes. If we're going to see him get up to 32 minutes again, at this price tag of 4,200, that's incredibly too cheap. So I think if I'm playing Sixers right now, Embiid is a must. In my opinion, you don't fade Joel Embiid today, in my humble opinion. So Embiid is a must. Right after that, I think for me it would be Richardson because of that price tag, and after him would be Horford at 5K. Those would be my three guys that I think I'd strongly consider today in a matchup against Brooklyn.
I like that. I like all those calls here. Richardson, if he's going to get in the beginning, then the price tag's too cheap. Horford at his price tag moving the second unit. One guy that I'd like to hear your thoughts on is Burks. Like, he's going to be a little bit more into this offense. We saw the amount of usage he had coming off the bench over in Golden State. He's a guy that can create his own shot. He's a guy that can go for big numbers. I don't know exactly how he's going to end up in this offense, but he's sitting there at 3,600. Is there a chance we see him get into the 20 minutes coming off the bench and ends up with like a big game? I don't really expect a whole lot of people to be on him. Like, Burks could be an interesting tournament play. Am I making sense? Like,
yeah, no, I mean, the guy's a scorer, man. I like it a lot. I like that call. At 3,600, this is a guy that could possibly be a tournament winner for you. I mean, really, he could win your tournament with 25 fantasy points on this slate, I think. If he gets in that 30 to 35 range, good night. He's not going to have the ownership. So I like that call, Grant. I think if he could get to the 20 to 25 minute mark, I mean, he could be a slate breaker easily.
Yeah, I mean, Philly brought him over because they don't have a lot of guys that can create their own shots outside of like Simmons, but getting him in that offense, like, it gives their offense has struggled greatly at times, struggling in zone. Like, he's a guy that can drastically change things. He's not a great player, maybe, but he's a guy that they definitely need in their offense to help create some stuff. So 3,600, I got a feeling that he's going to be a very big part of this offense. In any given game, he can go off for big scores. 3,600 seems way too cheap. With all the value on the slate, I don't expect a whole lot of people to be on him. I could be way off. Big field tournaments mostly for him, but he could be a guy that breaks the slate. We'll see what happens, but I really like him today as a tournament flyer. Let's move on to the next game here. We got Memphis going up against Sacramento. 1 point spread, going to be close, depending on which sportsbook you're at. One Sacramento's favorite, the other one Memphis' favorite, but 228 total here. We look at the injury report, and for the Grizzlies, nothing really new outside of Winslow still out, being over there. For the Kings, Alex Len is out. Bagley is out. I'm seeing conflicting reports. I don't think that Holmes – yeah, it's just Bagley, and it is – is Holmes out? I'm seeing different ones.
I don't have him I don't have Holmes on the injury report. I've got Bagley out, Kyle Guy, Daquan Jeffries, and Alex Len is questionable, and that was the latest one that I had. So – I think we're on the same page here. I mean, we've got Holmes is showing out on the sites. I mean, they said another 2 or 3 weeks, so that was February 11th.
Yeah, I'd assume he's out. Like, the official NBA report doesn't have him on there.
Yeah,
but as of right now, I'm going to do the assumption that he is out because he's supposed to be out for a while. And he's not even reevaluated yet. So big guys are out. Len is questionable now, even though he was supposed to be out. We got a new one, actually, I think this morning, that he will be out for Thursday's game. So their report's a mess. As of right now, it looks like Holmes, Bagley, and Lynn is out. We'll go under that assumption, but you can, if any one of those guys are in, they're going to end up getting the minutes, just so you know. And whoever's playing, if they're not going to be on a minutes restriction, it's probably a decent play. But go ahead and talk to me as if those guys are out right now. Who are you looking at for Memphis?
Memphis, I mean, Josh 7K, I don't hate it. Dylan Brooks at 5K, I like if his minutes would trend back up. So if we're going to get Dylan Brooks back in that 30 to 35 minute range, I like that.
On Brooks, I think like the main thing is I think he got into some foul trouble in some of those games early on, and he just has shot terribly lately. So they might end up giving him over 30 minutes again, but like it kind of looks like he's just been so awful shooting from the field, and he's had a bunch of fouls. Maybe the All-Star break is going to help him out. But, like, I think it's kind of circumstantial why he ended up doing that. They were just riding the hot hand, and he just wasn't doing anything. And he got in some foul trouble. But sorry, go on. Just wanted to say that.
No, we're good. We're good. And I do like JV a little bit on DK. You know, guys got double upside here. Should be able to have his way in the paint. Shouldn't be too popular. So I really like JV here. But mainly for me, I think it's just Ja, Brooks, and JV. Brandon Clark is a guy I kind of like to get on or play when he's like kind of under 5K, that, you know, at 47, 4,800 range. At 5,100, he still got meat on the bone, but I'm just not as intrigued. So yeah, that's where I'm at on the Memphis side.
Yeah, kind of right there with you, Clark. I mean, seems priced about where he should be. Yes, he did just put up a 40-point game, but he was 12 for 14 from the field. He's not a guy that's going to end up crushing his value. His price tag is exactly where it should be. J-Val, like, if all the bigs are out over for Sacramento, like, yes, Giles can come in there and do a little bit of work. We don't know what J-Val's minutes are going to be, and that could kind of determine some things. But I like J-Val there. Morant's fine. Triple J is always a tournament viable. But, yeah, the guy that I'm really looking at is Brooks. Everyone's going to look at the game log, which every single time this happens with Brooks, people don't understand that it's mostly foul trouble. He's kind of a similar guy to Triple J, where he can get into foul trouble, and that will limit his minutes a ton. He has not been shooting great, about 30% from the field over the last 5 games. Just absolutely terrible. Just got a week off. Very easily could go back to the guy that he was before the All-Star break when he was priced at 6K and was still probably too low. If he gets hot from the field, he can have a big game. I'm always a fan of Dylan Brooks, and I feel like this is a perfect spot where he is undervalued again here. So he's the guy that I really like, but J-Val without all the bigs, if they are in fact out, great play. Let's move on to the Sacramento side. Again, we don't know. We know Bagley's out, but we're getting conflicting reports on both Len and Holmes. As of right now, it looks like the best news we have is that they are probably out. So go ahead and talk to us about what Kings you're looking at going up against Memphis.
Yeah, this is a good spot, man. I love De'Aaron Fox here. Love Buddy Hield. You know, listen, I've been targeting Memphis players against Memphis all year. Nemanja Bjelica, another good spot for him. If Bjelica gets 30 to 35 minutes today, I feel like this could be a 45, 50-point game incoming with the quickness. So Bjelica, man, he's high on my list today. I mean high. So really like him a lot. And I think that's pretty much it. Hield, Fox, Bjelica, those three. I don't think we have to venture up too much. Like I said, Bogdanovich could get hot in this spot as well. They're playing Memphis, pretty high-paced team. But I don't think he's necessary.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of right there with it. I really like Bjelica. Fox and Hyde seems like their price tags are a little bit too low considering what their potential upside is. Like, if all the bigs are out, like, they're probably going to need some size going up against Triple J, going up against J-Val. Like, is Giles a guy that we could potentially end up looking at? He got a few 20-point or 20-minute games prior to the All-Star game, 21, 15, and 28 minutes in his last 3 games here. They have no reason to extend him that much. They're out of the playoff race, and they have already canceled his extension here. So they don't really have a huge incentive to play him and show other teams what he can actually do. But sitting there at 3,400 with a shot at 20-plus minutes here, he can put up big numbers in a hurry. I don't know. Like, this slate obviously has a decent amount of value, but I think that if all these guys are out, guy we could potentially end up looking at could end up getting some minutes.
Yeah, I get it, man. I wish Giles was getting 20 to 25 minutes a night every night. But I guess if that was the case, he'd probably be in the 4K range. But I really wish that was the case. Man, I like Giles. I like the call. But I mean, I think that's really large field tournament stuff. Obviously, I don't think I'd play him in 3-man, 20-entry max. I think I'd have to be getting in that real heavy multi-entry before I consider Giles.
That's fair. That's fair. I just thought I'd throw it out there, and obviously we don't know what the center situation really is, because if Len ends up playing, that kind of just moves Giles entirely off the board. But if Len's playing, he's sitting there at 3,900. If he's going to play the minutes, he could potentially be a guy that we'd look at instead. Probably going to end up at 20-minute range. So, yeah, look at for news in the morning. As of right now, we're getting enough conflicting reports where we don't have anything official. So Check in the morning, guys. Let's move on to the last game of the night here. We got Houston going up against Golden State. Big total, 232. 10-point favorite are the Houston Rockets here. Almost said Astros. Gosh, baseball's going to be so much fun.
Oh, my gosh. It's getting fun already.
Yes, it is. But this is not football. But gosh, am I excited. I am so excited. Golden State, it's Curry. It's Clay. They're out. Over on the Rocket side, Eric Gordon is questionable. Hartenstein is out. Let's get started. Last game of the night, Houston. You already mentioned how you really like Giannis, how you like Trey in tournaments. Are Westbrook and Harden guys that you're looking at in cash?
I think so, man. One of the best spots of the night. Here's how I feel about cash games on DK, though. When you got Bam and Jimmy Butler at 7,900 and 7,800 respectively, you can probably only play one more of these studs, and it's probably going to be either Westbrook or Harden. I don't think we'll be able to get them both. As of right now, Westbrook is 10-2. I think the Masters are going to side with Westbrook in cash games, hands down. In tournaments, I think Harden is going to be a real good tournament play. As long as this game doesn't get out of hand, it's at Golden State, so hopefully they come out ready to fight. I really like this price tag on Roko here. 5,500, a guy that's been playing 35, 38 minutes the past two games. I like this price tag, Grant. I think this is a fantastic play on this slate. Robert Covington, 5,500. I actually think he's my favorite Rocket. As long as Eric Gordon is out, let me be clear, as long as Gordon is out, I think he's my favorite Rocket, and then the second would be Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, right there with you. Really, really like Covington on the slate. Sitting there at 5,500. A guy that fits in perfectly with this Houston offense here. Had a rough shooting outing right before the All-Star break, but he still ended up with 39 points there. Grandy had a lot of blocks to steal. The offense is probably going to be running through Wiggins over on the other side. So Covington is probably going to be the guy trying to shut him down. I really like Covington. This is an incredible price tag. If he gets hot from behind the arc, he can absolutely crush. Going to be getting a lot of ancillary stats. Really, really like Covington. And right there with you with Westbrook. Ever since Capella's gone, like Westbrook has been on an absolute tear. 10-2. It's still a decently high price tag, but he's a guy that can absolutely go for a massive game. Going up against Golden State, obviously terrible defensively. It's going to be a great pace-up spot here. Westbrook's playing the minutes, and he's putting up 25, 30 shots every single night because the way their offense is set up without a big, he's able to just drive to the rim. He stopped shooting threes. I really like both these guys, but Westbrook's probably going to be a guy that's chalky enough where you're fine with fading him in terms, but Covington is a guy that I absolutely love right there with you. Probably not going with any of the other ancillary pieces here. Just don't really see enough usage going around with all those guys, considering that Harden, Westbrook, and Covington are probably going to be eating up all of it. Let's look at the other side, Golden State. Wiggins sitting there at 7,600. He's been pretty good since he got into this offense. Just put up a 50-point game, had over 40 in 3 of the last 4. Going up against Houston, high total, high pace, good spot for him defensively. Is Wiggins a guy that you're going to be looking at 7,600, or is it just not really worth it considering Bam and Butler are around the same price tag?
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it to take Wiggins over Butler today or Bam. I still think he's in playing tournaments, but I don't think if I only had one lineup, I don't think he'd make the cut. And tomorrow I am intending to do pretty much single entry only. So we'll see what happens as the day progresses. But as of right now, I don't think Wiggins is going to make the cut. I do think he'll still get ownership because I do feel like he fits his offense a lot better, a lot more ball movement. A lot more player movement as well, not just ball movement, player movement and ball movement. So I like that here. Jordan Poole, starting to get a few more minutes. Nothing to write home about, but and then Draymond, I think, would have been the highest owned Warrior, but if had it not been for the pricing. Once again, you're going over to FanDuel, man, and these Warriors are cheap. You got Draymond at 5,800. You got Damian Lee at 4,900. These guys are just incredibly cheap, man. Wiggins is 7,500. I like these guys. So, that's kind of where I am with the Golden State guys. Mainly on Draymond on FanDuel. And then on DK, I'd probably mainly be on, one of the other cheap guys like what's his face, like a Damian Lee or Jordan Poole or something like that at 4K.
What about Marquise Chris? I know he's priced up to 6,200, but like it's a good matchup going against Houston. Not really a lot of size there. If he stays out of foul trouble, then probably be around 30 minutes. He's put up 43, 33, 45 in his last three. Like the price seems a little bit high, but can we take a shot on him in tournaments? I don't know if I'm getting there.
I think you can. Now, keep in mind, with my single entry stuff or 3-entry max, forget it. There's no way I'm playing any Marquise Chris, but I think he's great leverage because if you think a lot of people are going to attack either a Westbrook or a Harden, if this game stays close, then at least 2 or 3 guys from Golden State need to have monster games. And as it stands right now, Chris is a contributing factor to that. So I like the call in terms of from a game theory perspective. I don't like it personally, but I like the setup of it all on the other side of the Rockets. And they are at home, which makes me feel a lot better that this game could stay closer.
Yeah, no. I don't know how I feel about it. I was trying to get your read on it because I'm kind of on the fence. Like, yes, it's a good matchup. Price is a little high, but I don't expect him to get a lot of ownership in tournaments. I was trying to get you to sway me one way or another, and now I'm still on the fence. But let's get to the morning grind game, and let's get out of here. Player under 5K to get 6X, 7X. There we go. Figured it out.
Yeah, man. Listen, I'm going to roll with the guy that I've talked about. Hopefully he starts like I'm anticipating. I'm going with Shaq Harrison, man. I think he gets to start. I think he's going to have to play. I'm going to roll with Shaq here.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with White.
I like
one
him
of us
as well.
Will probably end up getting it. Favorite bust over 8K, not to 5X.
I think I'm going to go with John Collins here. I think he's a tad bit too expensive, just a touch.
Yeah, I think I'm just going with Middleton.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right. I was wondering why you didn't take him. I thought you were going to for sure. Favorite guy on the board to 6X.
This one was a tough one for me because I like a lot of guys, but I think I'm just going with Joel Embiid, man. This matchup with Brooklyn is so tasty. I'm going with Embiid at 9K.
I'm going to go with Brooks. Like, again,
I think
he's going to get the minutes. Like, the shot attempts have absolutely been there in the last 4 or 5 games. Like, he's putting up an average of 15 shots a game. Like, all he needs is 30 to 6X. I think he does it if he just has a mediocre shooting night. And I think that All-Star break is going to be good for him. All right, so off the board play, who are you looking at?
Man, this is a guy I've been on. I'm going Duncan Robinson from Miami, man. I really like him today against Atlanta. I think this is a primetime spot with Hero out. I like it, man. I'm going Duncan Robinson.
All right, contest selection. Give me a contest that you're looking at for tomorrow.
Oh, man. So here's what I'm looking at for the next 6 weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, please get in the single entry series. Some of the best on FanDuel, some of the best payout structures you're going to get when we run these single entry series contests. The prize pools get bigger. Where on a normal day, maybe the $5 single entry was paying out $10K total. We're pretty much at $30K almost every day. Please, please, please hop in this $5 single entry. You won't regret it.
All right, I'm going for guys. As you're listening to this, go and sign up for it now because I don't know how long it's going to take to fill. But Yahoo running a no management fee, so no rake contest, 100K. I believe it's 15 grand up for top, 10 grand up top. I can't even remember, but no rake. You can enter it 25 times. I've already locked in my 25 entries. I'll edit them in the morning, but I want to make sure to get in there. No management fee. Gotta love no rake. Go get over there. Big tournament. Good payouts. Get in. No rake. All right, last one. Give me an over-under that you're on for this slate.
Well, this is one that jumped out to me when I kind of pulled it out. I think everybody's going to kind of be on the Houston game, and I think a lot of people are going to be on the Miami game. And ever so slightly, the Memphis Grizzlies and Sacramento have a 228 total, and Sacramento's -1. I like this game for tournaments, and so in terms of sports betting, I actually think I'd take the Grizzlies +1 here. I really do. But overall, 228 total. I think this game may fly under the radar a little bit, but I like this total. I think it's going over. Memphis is just proving that they're going to be high-paced games. Really like this one.
Yeah, I'm going with the over at Houston Golden State's 232.5. I don't care. I think this game stays over. I think it's a little closer. There's going to be a lot of scoring there. Gosh, so happy basketball is back. Gosh, Will, thanks for joining me. Thanks for putting up with me for an hour or so.
Dude, we're buds, man. This is always a pleasure to hang out with you. Always.
Oh, gosh, you are so much nicer than me. It's ridiculous. Well, all right, guys. Stevie will be back tomorrow. I think I'm actually on with him tomorrow. So
you are, sir. You are.
I am. So see you guys tomorrow. Good luck on your contest today. Again, watch out for news tomorrow. We got all sorts of stuff on RotoGrinders. He's Chief. I'm Turd Ferguson. We're out of here. See you, kids.